Good, welcome. Let's call to order the Finance Committee meeting. In your packet, we do have the minutes from our last meeting. That took place June the 20th. Want to look through those. As you look through there, if you don't see any changes that need to be made, we need a motion to approve of it. Michael made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Craddock. There's a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, that motion carries.
Oh, what happened?
Just so everybody sees.
Sorry, sorry, I did that when we were getting it ready. Sorry.
Now you can see the balance sheet. Then you can. The income statement. Where we are from the balance sheet, still pretty steady. And then the expenses for the month. Contractors fees, communication, and then legal fees, the meetings, supplies, rent, insurance, postage and freight, publication, subscriptions. Does anybody have any questions?
I had a question on the 29, 11, and 15 for supplies training. What was that?
For our training sessions,
What's the question?
and for the training.
$900 for training supply.
Well, it probably included the, and I pulled it up, the catering, plus the flip charts, the markers, and all of that. Yeah. So we had two, I don't know if those two are both, yeah, they should be both combined. There was the catering at Baird and the catering here. Then in addition, one, yes, covers both training sessions, yeah. And you know, the supplies, the flip charts and the markers and all that we purchased.
Everything they went on for the session for the day.
Mhm.
And since all of that ended up combined into one larger, that $1,000 reimbursement, I've got a resolution to approve. That, just for the record.
We had discussed when you know, whether it's come in on it, and then, like I said, the expenses needed to do that. But you have what you want. Not have specific. Any other items on here that, like I said, most of these are very customizing. I mean, that was a little bit higher, but we expected that to be higher based upon sessions that we had. So, with that being said, you do still need to approve the monthly expenses. Is there a motion? I'm waiting on a motion to approve the expenses for the month. Michael has made a motion. Is there a second?
So I was on mute. I can second.
Thanks, Dr. Bradley. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion does carry.
And we also need to approve the resolution.
Need to approve the resolution, then?
Yeah.
The resolution expense was for a total of $4,055.91. Yeah. Michael has made a motion and I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion does carry. Chip, man, I really just kind of wanted you to, look, there's gonna be some. We've had some meetings and, we doing some things, so, we still gotta work on a budget, but just kind of give us a overview of, some of the meetings we had and where you think you'll be starting to work here soon, and if you've done anything that you'd like to report on.
Okay, Amy, can they hear me from here? Or I need to.
Yeah, you should be fine. Can you all, Dr. Craddock, Secretary Brown, can you hear us?
Yes.
I got you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now, yeah,
All right. I should be on a laptop in about 5 minutes.
I will shoot from the hip on that, and I would say that the early part of the engagement is trying to meet with the right people and get a good understanding of everything. Just it's for me, it's not a you all thing, but I've met with President Stivers and get a feel for his view of things. I met with Secretary or General, it's a day, with Senator Neal. Rita and Laura helped set that meeting up for me. It felt very productive and just getting a real understanding about the partnership and how it's going to work, and getting to understand the fabric of just a little bit better and seeing where I can help. I think my focus is supposed to be on a couple of primary things. One, the money that the partnership does have, helping make recommendations for the finance committee for you all to consider in terms of, making the money work for you all. It does, interest rates are up. And you should be earning interest on those deposits, but at the same time, this isn't just about that money, because this is from what I'm getting, this is seed money. This is a business. It's one of the important components that Senator Neal referred to. This is a business, and it's meant to outlive the TIP, and the legislation that governs the TIP is longer than a 20-year institution. And so to that end, there's also strategy on fundraising and things like that. So all of it ties together. I'm really spending my time focused, William, on just making sure I am up to speed with you all on the lay of the land. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I'm most interested in, most focused on. I think we do need to have a deliverable on a reasonable operating budget. I mean, you have expenses now, and it would, the board's going through its training and be responsible for the finance committee to say, okay, well, this is our budget for the year. And, so when you all meet, you can look at things in context of, are we at budget or just out of budget and things like that, and start governing from the finance committee and bring that recommendation to the board for the board meetings. So those are some of the things I focused on, William.
and then one of the things, I appreciate that, one of the, I know that, we talked about what I perceive, like, it's the operating budget, and then making sure that we're maximizing the dollars that we have. Where we're going, from the standpoint, we do have nice balance sheet. We want to make sure that we are investing or earning the proper amount of interest that we should, at each point. So I do think that is a high priority, just to, every month that we're giving up, we could make X amount more dollars. I think that would be important.
I agree. And so, my thought is to, see what are you actually getting, I know you're getting, half of it's in a different arrangement than with stockyards, but report on that. One of the other things that I was thinking about,
At one point, we remember we were talking about what was you recommending as the small dollar purchase?
yes, yes, that's right. So, you know, again, this is a business and, you know, I mean, Humana, there's certain things that the Humana board doesn't get into, you know, and that's gonna be to a certain level. Expenses, you know, they'll manage expenses, they'll manage their budget, they'll hold administration accountable, but you have to let staff operate within certain guidelines. One of the things that I have been charged with has been getting some research on what would be reasonable policy for the partnership to have as it contemplates expenses. Because at some point in time, you're gonna have way more than a handful of pages of expenses. And so I've done some research. Amy and I've talked about it a little bit. I communicated to Amy that in talking with other not UR 501c3, but talking to municipality type of organizations, you know, it's common that they will have I know I want to phrase it correctly, Amy, so step in here with me, but there's a certain amount of money that the administration can spend without needing board approval, but start contract purchase, small purchase exemption. So you know, you've got to keep in context that this is not a small purchase like us as individuals. You know, it's small purchases in context of right now $30 million organization. So, you know, $30 million organization, you know, it's not unreasonable for them to have 25 to 50,000 of small purchase exemption. Are you calling small purchase exemption? So, yeah, I mean, yep.
One concern that I think we should look at, most of our expenses right now, Rita's the bank. And we're expecting her to pay all of those and then reimburse her. But every month that goes up. And then we're chasing our tail on the approvals. So let's say Rita won the lottery and moved to the Bahamas next week. Are we, you know, if we put a job posting out, is it a job requirement, like, you know, whoever does this has to front load and off?
That's why I think that.
That's what the small dollar purchase.
Purchase.
That's true, that's simple.
Well, this,
Well, because we're not using. Well, the expenses aren't being paid for by Rita, they're paid for by Rita, and then
What I think might get into that, I think with the credit card. The corporate credit card needs to be any expense account where and it's paid monthly by us, not really monthly rates. But we look at the deposits.
It's a little bit separate from what we're kind of talking about, but I mean, I
A
certainly.
$30 million organization should have one of them.
Yeah, or not make it so onerous for the employee to get reimbursed. Right. That's not the employee's job to bankroll the organization. You know, I mean, I do, when I, you know, just for FYI, for example, with Baird, I mean, if I came over here and bought a Nutri-Grain bar and it cost me 75 cents, I would submit an invoice to my firm and they'd reimburse it for it. You know, so that does happen, but it happened pretty quickly. You know,
you would Staples and pay for the office.
no, the Baird does, exactly, no, yeah, exactly, so. Travel and entertainment, you know, is what I'll pay out of my pocket and then get reimbursed for, but all the. Chairs and phones and paper and staples and stuff like that, you know, big travels.
Still under the reimbursement model, and if they need to come up with them, they're.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this, you know, this. The policy that we were talking about is, the small purchase exemption, you know, it gives the administrative staff. It's really more for the future. It's not as much now, it's sort of a small group of limited expenses and things like that, it's not a big deal. But you try to put things in policies in place now that envision what this organization will look like 5 years from now. You know, and that's where I was focused on that small purchase exemption. You know, I think it needs to be, you know, at a reasonably high level to give the then leadership flexibility it needs to make business decisions. And then finance committee, they'll manage it. I mean, if you ever want to pull something out, by God, you can, you're the finance committee, you know, but you're not sitting there having to vote on every up or down expense.
Day-to-day operate, but we set up our budgets, they
Yeah.
do the budget, and if you got a bigger than normal expense, we'll still see it and have
Yeah.
to see, you know, have that look to question it and
Yeah,
make sure that we need to be doing
it
it.
just won't be needed for,
Right.
yeah.
So with the small dollar purchase policy, we wouldn't have, to use resolutions that the finance committee
Yeah.
to cover the kinds of expenses.
And we've been talking about the small dollar exemption in two different contexts, and so it hasn't come up yet. One is this $1,000 window taken bylaw says requiring finance committee. But then the other is your procurement purpose and an art.
Yeah.
And what's gonna be our exemption for, and those may be the same number, they might not.
And my, you know, I think about this for Amy, you know, when we work with any municipal entity, we do a not to exceed approval for bond issue. And so, for example, if I know an entity come off $4.5 million for a library project, their board might approve a bond issue not to exceed 6 million. They don't have the construction bids yet, but they might approve it for not to exceed 6 million. It gives them the headroom. That approval doesn't mean that they will do a $6 million bond issue. It just means that they can go up to that amount. And the reason why I'm sharing that here is I think that, you know, I would set a high bar for that exemption for RFP. But you have a right as to financially, you decide to bring it down and say, well, you know, this one's particularly important, we want to RFP it, but just set the bar high, is what I'm saying. Not put yourself in a position where you're turning around your RFP every time you turn around. It's just not practical to move as fast as we all need to move on certain areas. That's kind of what's the thing.
The other thing I think we have to consider is, you know, we're still building trust in our community. So, you know, small dollar to one person is not the same as the other. The average income in my neighborhood is about $25,000. So if we said $50,000 is small, you know, people don't see 2 years of their income small, so, you know, we've got to keep count of how this, the perception. How,
And I think that's a little bit about training and about education. Yes, if you're looking at it from your income, it's not small, but we're looking at it from a $30 million organization. So that's where we got, that's why people here on the board, we're being educated so we can go out and get our community to understand that. Because in some cases, you do have to look at things a little bit different.
but the community's gonna see this as their money.
Yeah, you identify an issue, we encounter all the time working with, you know, schools and public, you know, not the universities, but citizens are involved in that like they are their K-12 public school system. Go Breckenridge County Schools, you know, we'll talk in big numbers. And you've got to, you know, you have to be very communicative about it with the community, you know, because everybody tends to think like it should, and what does this mean in my world? So I hear what you're saying in terms of, you know, we go around a number up here, that's it's twice the income I make. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we've got to get policies in place that give, you know, this organization the flexibility to move and operate like a business. You know, again, I think you can manage that message that you're talking about by stepping down at key times and making sure you are being, you know, things that you think are helpful for communicating with the community about. What you're going at.
But I still think it can be incumbent on the community representative to help the people in the community to understand
Context.
what we're doing and why we're doing. You know, because they're not here, they're not going to the board training session, they're not going to, and more than that, they were, I think they see that, you know, hey, okay, I understand that, so it's a little bit as a community representative, you gotta have one other thing, help make sure the community understands, you know, why we're doing what we're doing. But
Especially reading representative like that, we need to.
What did you say? I think we're-
So as a community representative, I gotta believe it too. It's just.
believe that we building this organization and we trying to get the staff to be able to do what they need to operate the business and not, hopefully, I'm assuming, I was taking that for granted, I'm sorry. Yeah, 'cause, I mean, you've been here, you see what we're doing, how we're doing it, and like I said, yes, there may be a level of trust that may be outside, but we gotta be on the same page here so we can trust each other here and take that out and make sure that they trust us as well. Okay, well, like I said, sir, man, one of the things I do want to, you know, get with, we still need to get with the Otis, because I mean, as far as, you know, see exactly who, right now, they're producing these kind of documents, see how that's gonna work in the future. And, you know, this could be a little bit different, but, I just think you gotta, and then right now, they have that money over there as well, so that, as we talk about transitioning that and maximizing what we're gonna be getting as a return. Might see exactly who's gonna be continuing to help create the financial documents and little stuff that we discuss.
Okay, yeah, I think that, you know, having a bookkeeper would make sense. I mean, you know, that, you know, we've been at these, arena authority meetings, and they have DMLO as a bookkeeper for the organization, you know, they pay for that, but that's what they do, you know? As the employee that's doing it now, I'm not gonna do it with you, or even have that.
How long have they committed to?
And I think that do it as long as we need, but I mean, I think that we said that we're gonna phase them out, so we just need to.
Yeah, their contract was through December 2021.
So
And so they've agreed to stay on. They're about ready to hand it off. They're just waiting for us to make that move. They're not trying to push us out the door or anything like that.
They've been very gracious.
They have been more than gracious. Yes.
But it's not something they're here that they don't want to do about.
Not in the capacity as a fiscal agent, you know, they're like another nonprofit. So that relationship is different than what Chip is talking about in terms of having an accounting firm as a bookkeeper. I'm familiar with DMLO as well.
I don't know, you know, somebody,
Yes.
you know, like that.
We identify that in our community.
I think that there's definitely some in our community that could do it. I don't know, like, have we identified it? We had a discussion about it.
No, because we had not reached, that's for the committee to determine.
And then the question would be, once we draft the scope of work, is that something that what we should be bid or that we should do as a sales force or small purchase something?
And what I would say would be, once, now that we know, I think, in my opinion, staff provided C would be capable. And we got, it's like how we did, started at 990, you know, hey, let's get some names. And then let them make a recommendation. And then we get those names, you know, whether we decide to do a RFP or, and this is, how much are they gonna charge? Can we just, if there be something that we just decide and it's somebody in the community, we can do that based upon what we're coming up with. Those are the type things in my mind, thus it's an operational improvement. And we don't need to strap staff from not being able to do operational type thing. Does that make sense? Okay. Definitely good guy. But I mean, like I said, Rita and Laura, I mean, you know, people in our community, who can do this kind of work, let's see what can be done, let's, one of the things we wanna do, we wanna create opportunities for people. And I think that this is one, and I think it could be, like I said, a win-win situation. Okay. You got anything else?
No, I think, I've certainly enjoyed my conversation so far. I appreciate, you guys. So I think the biggest takeaways I've had is, it is a business is the deal. You know, that's the clear message I've gotten from, Stivers and Neil and others. And it's a business. It's intended to outlive the legends. It's not about, increment financing. This is about the establishment of a partnership, the partnership that can continue to make investments in the community for decades to come. That's the genesis of it. So that's the greatest thing I've learned thus far.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. I have a great opportunity to really build that and see some of the opportunities that have been found.
I think for the finance committee, it's worth repeating, I have talked with Department of Revenue, and I think we have established with the finance committee already that, the plan is that, they have to finish calculating with the base units. It's a lot of organization or entities within the large zone. And, that take them the better part of the rest of the year to do that before we even have an idea of what the base is. And then after December 31st of this year, that's the close of books on the first year they'll measure. And you won't have that number probably for 9 months later. So it's the end of 2024 before you're having a clear idea of what one piece of this overall partnership is going to be doing.
1 year of the,
Was that?
1 year of the.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is a long game. It's gonna take, it's a long game. There you go. It is a business.
Does anybody else have any questions? Laura, do you have any updates you want to give us or anything?
Not any finance committee updates. I'm really having a good time working with Chip. We've had some good meetings and good discussion. This one thing will be just positive now about when we will have an estimate of what our TIF implement will be for that first year is a big deal. And I think we kind of have to relax our shoulders and go ahead and rely on the revenue avenue for that number rather than trying to construct some process ourselves, figuring the number out. Because they're the experts.
I would agree with that.
I would just throw in, I'm sure they're so supportive of the project, I'm sure they would be willing 100% next one out. So that the board understands the process
Yes.
that they went through.
Yeah, absolutely. Rita, you got anything?
Idea.
Just for purposes of the minutes, did the committee determine small dollar or no?
No,
No, we're going to determine.
Okay, okay.
There's no recommendation.
And then Laura, you and I talked about, did you want to speak to the language of the motions? Remember the question I called you about?
Yeah.
About acceptance versus,
Or we, Rita and I have had a conversation about what happens at the point where financials aren't. And I think what we've been doing in the past, we did it today, is to have a motion to approve the financial. But technically, the financials are gonna stand for audit. And then the board is anticipating getting word back from the auditor as the final arbiter of the standard or the validity of the financial statement. So I would just suggest that subsequent meetings, instead of saying that the board approves the financials, to just say we accept the financial report. Yeah, because that's technically what you're doing. You're really not waving your hand and saying everything's absolutely right.
Right.
Waiting on the order. Before you determine that order, so you're just accepting.
Perfect.
So we accept the financials, but we actually approve the expenses. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Right.
Okay.
And that's just something technical. It's not any kind of life or death thing.
But yeah, that's good.
That's what you see what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
The board isn't saying all of this is absolutely accurate, because you don't know until you are.
But we
So
accept
you're
what's
accepting, you're just
has been
accepting.
presented. Perfect. All
I
right.
don't know if they have any questions, Dr. Craddock or J. Michael.
Secretary Brown.
I'm here. I finally got all hooked up. I heard most of it.
And
been
there
out
were some
doing
comments
other-
in the chat as well.
Comments in the chat.
Yeah.
Do I address those?
Before the feedback's into the chair.
Hmm.
Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many do we have?
All right, let me get to that. I don't know what's going on with mine. Uh-oh, sorry. It's supposed to come out and it's not doing it. Oh, I need to go. I mean, these are just comments. Now, she needs a bank, a MasterCard, a bank where WeOp has an account, actually where the partnership has an account. For example, you have to be able to substantiate the need to spend $100 to cater a meeting. We do that all the time for $15. Michael is asking the questions we community members are asking or get asked. So I suggest you provide a scanned budget with line items linked to receipted detail. And I hear no effort to address the concern, no effort to provide the Portland rep with the evidence needed to communicate effectively within his community. And the last one, we have the same problems in Chickasaw.
Well, one thing that I would say that, look, we just gotta, like I said, if you don't think you can support them, I have to give you the support that you need. If they don't think that you are, so hopefully you'll have, be equipped with the knowledge to sort of randomly educate the residents to make sure that everybody understands. And then as far as, once we get a budget, like I said, all that stuff should be able to be online where people could see it and know kind of what's. So I do appreciate those comments. The updates on your action on. And helping them have a program. But we'll be ready. We have to be. And then this committee will be a place where it is reviewed first. Before going to.
And you did send in that, signed off and send in the 9/9.
Oh, yeah, 9/9 is completed and filed by time. Now, will that be up online? People can see it as well. We typically get this best practice is. We should.
Yeah.
That's when she sends me an electronic copy of it. We'll get it posted online, on the website.
Anybody have anything else? There are no other questions, concerns. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Sir,
Second,
Okay.
easy for me.
thank you very much. All right,
Thank
Mr. Brown. Thanks, Dr. Craddock.
Thank
All right,
you,
y'all.
guys.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.